Hello, and welcome to an African Diaspora Coalition Herbal Wellness Plant Medicine Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about adaptogens, specifically ashwagandha, nettles, holy basil, and rhodiola. But first, in the framing part of our workshop, I'd like to take some time to consider the types of herbalists that we may encounter as we work in our communities, or who we may want to approach if we're looking for an herbalist. There are home herbalists, community herbalists, herbal educators, herbal suppliers, herbal preparations formulators, herb growers, and clinical herbalists. This first slide shows Cassandra, an adaptogen which we don't grow, but is used in Korean and Chinese medicine to treat the respiratory system. It's known to lower high blood pressure. It's also excellent for relieving oxidative stress on the liver and improving liver function. Let's consider some of the types of herbalists. A home herbalist practices herbalism for themselves and their families. They may or may not have had formal training, but plant medicine is an important part of their daily life. It is who they are. It's a lifestyle. It's completely integrated into their lives. This kind of herbalism is often passed down through family elders or spread through friends. Community herbalists have formal training in herbalism, having completed plant medicine coursework and training programs, or have apprenticed with master herbalists. They work with the public, often incorporating herbal preparations into their practice. A community herbalist is frequently the person who we find combining herbalism with other helping professions, operating herb shops, and offering community herbal education. Clinical herbalists, in addition to their formal training in traditional herbalism, are educated with a heavy focus on evidence-based science. Clinical herbalists often work predominantly in a one-on-one consultation setting, and although they can't diagnose or treat, they usually do a health intake and can give personalized advice. The herbal educator may fit into several categories of practicing herbalists, or their focus could be predominantly on education. An herbal supplier is a source for herbs and herbal products. Suppliers may work in brick-and-mortar shops, online shops, at distribution events, or booths at farmers markets, or all of the above. An herbal supplier is often a community herbalist or other type of herbalist in addition to supplying herbs and herbal products. An herbal formulator is someone who makes herbal remedies such as extracts, infusions, tea blends, balms, or any of the herbal preparations for internal or external use. An herbal formulator is often someone who fits into several other herbal categories, or they may put all of their focus on making products. An herb grower cultivates herbs to make their own products, to sell directly to customers, or sell to other types of herbalists. Please be aware that there is no herbalist licensing body in the United States. There are certificates in herbalism awarded after completion of curricula offered by herbalism schools. However, herb schools vary in their rigor, so what certificates from various schools represent is different. The African Diaspora Coalition and Singularity Botanicals are members of the American Herbalist Guild, and we are compliant and abide by current good manufacturing practices. We have been honored to have received the 2020 Small Business Award in Delaware County, Pennsylvania for outstanding performance out of a field of 800 candidates. In 2021, we have been honored to have received the Sojourner Truth Award for outstanding community service by the Chester, Pennsylvania chapter of the National Association of Black Business and Professional Women. So let's talk about adaptogens. Adaptogens have stimulant properties that help us adapt to and/or counteract the harmful effects of stress. Stress physically damages the body, harming the neurological, endocrine, and immune systems. Adaptogens enhance nonspecific resistance to stress and decrease sensitivity to stressors. They stabilize physiological processes and promote homeostasis, a natural state of equilibrium. When we face a physical or mental stressor, our bodies go through what's called the General Adaptation Syndrome, GAS. GAS is a 3-stage response: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. Adaptogens help us stay in the resistance phase longer via a stimulating effect that staves off exhaustion. So rather than crashing in the midst of a stressful moment, a stressful task or event, we're able to sustain equilibrium and can press on. Adaptogenic substances have a system-wide effect, yet can also be used in formulas for specific organs and organ systems. Let's turn our attention for just a moment to some of the wonderful adaptogens that the African Diaspora Coalition Plant Medicine Project does not grow, but are just so fabulous we want to mention them. Ginseng is a memory enhancer, an emotion stabilizer, and boosts the immune system. It is the root that is used. Schisandra is for stress and anxiety, and those are the berries that we saw back on the very first slide. Eleuthero, also known as Siberian ginseng, is great for fatigue. Root is used. Astragalus, fatigue. The root is used. Cordyceps is very good for stamina. It's a mushroom. Licorice is used for stress reduction. It's the root that is used. And turmeric, which many of us are familiar with, is for brain function. It is a superb anti-inflammatory, and it also helps with the depression. And the root is used. So, getting back to the characteristics and benefits of adaptogens, they enhance focus, attention, performance, and endurance in fatigue. Adaptogens lessen stress-induced impairments and disorders related to the neuroendocrine and the immune systems. We can use adaptogens for a few days or weeks to get through a stressful life experience, or we can take them for a stretch of chronic upheaval in our lives. We suggest rotating the types of adaptogens taken after 6 weeks so that the body can benefit from the subtle nuances among herbs. Use them to cope with intense, stressful periods and/or to stay generally energized over the long term. When we're stressed, our adrenal gland releases the hormone cortisol, which then energizes us to tackle emergencies. But too much cortisol, too often, damages our bodies. Use of adaptogens reduces the inordinate flooding of stress hormones in the body. Adaptogens indirectly help with other health issues as well, like pain, digestive concerns, and insomnia. This is because stress, especially chronic stress, sets off a cascade of physical responses that affect the immune function, affect hormones, cognitive function, and our internal clock called the circadian rhythm. If stressors persist, we risk chronic illness in one or more organ systems. So let's consider the adaptogens that we grow. Holy basil is a favorite medicinal herb, also known as tulsi. The part that we use are the leaves, the stems, and the flowers. It's an annual or short-lived perennial that grows up to 3 feet. The stems are hairy with toothed leaves, and it prefers well-drained soil that's enriched with organic material. Holy basil prefers full direct sun but will tolerate some shade, and it loves heat. It grows easily from direct seeding in the ground, takes 7 to 14 days to germinate in warm temperatures. We keep it watered but not overwatered. From seed to first harvest is about 2 months. We harvest the leaves and stems as needed throughout the growing season. Holy basil is a warm, aromatic member of the mint family. Native to the South Asian continent, tulsi is an important herb in the Indian Ayurvedic system of medicine. Holy basil, or tulsi, reduces physical and mental stress, stress-related anxiety, and depression. It's a calming adaptogen that can be taken both in the daytime and before bed because its de-stressing effect won't have a sedative effect. It's an anti-inflammatory, analgesic, and anti-mutagen. It lowers blood pressure and protects the heart, lowers high blood sugar levels without side effects. It has an overall tonifying, revitalizing, and invigorating effect on the tissues throughout the body, boosts the immune system, can kill parasites, and it's good for marijuana and alcohol withdrawal. Be mindful of the fact that due to its effectiveness in regulating blood sugar, you should use caution and monitor diabetic or hypoglycemic disorders because it may alter insulin's effect. Here are examples of our products: holy basil tea, that's the dehydrated leaves, holy basil tincture, and here we see holy basil growing at the Chester Senior Center and one of our raised beds there in the garden outside of the Senior Center. Next up, we have nettles, or stinging nettles. We grow nettles both for their wonderfully nutrient-dense leaves at our grow sites in eastern Pennsylvania, and all of our grow sites in other parts of Pennsylvania and throughout the country send us nettle root, which is used for other types of tinctures that we create. The nettles that you see here are growing in a raised bed in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at the grow site of one of our partners, Harrisburg Friends Meeting. And on the right-hand side here, you're seeing harvested nettle root. Nettles are nutrient-rich. They have vitamins A, B, C, and K, minerals calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, fats, chlorophyll, and all 9 essential amino acids. Many of these nutrients act as antioxidants, which support liver health. Nettles help with anemia by increasing hemoglobin and provide wonderful overall constitutional support. Nettles help regulate blood sugar, and acting as a vasodilator, it lowers blood pressure by relaxing and widening blood vessel walls, the muscles. The root supports prostate health by preventing the conversion of testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, which causes enlargement. They support relief from hay fever and seasonal allergies by reducing inflammation. Nettles are a mild detoxifying diuretic and can stem excessive bleeding. Be mindful of taking nettles if pregnant, and use of diuretics or blood thinners and blood pressure medication should be checked with a physician before using nettles. These herbs are so effective that if taking other medications, you need to consult with your healthcare practitioner and or your herbalist to make certain that you are working effectively to complement your already existing medical regimen. And here you see nettle root that has been harvested and nettle cuttings. As mentioned before, the part that we use are the leaves and the roots. Nettles prefer rich, moist soil. Make certain to grow nettles away from other herbs and or give them lots of space to spread because they will spread and rapidly. The plants can grow up to 3 to 4 feet. Seed or transplant from cuttings in the spring in rows that are an inch apart and keep the area moist. Nettles need to be well watered when establishing themselves, but are pretty hardy afterward. They can grow pretty well with regular rainfall. Leaves can be harvested carefully with thick gloves throughout the entire growing season into the fall, and that's extremely important because they're called stinging nettles for a reason. When your hands come in contact, when your skin comes in contact with the aerial part of the plant, it can leave a stinging, burning, sometimes even a rash on the skin. So you want to use heavy gloves when harvesting. Roots grow in layered horizontal tracts, so you need to loosen the soil around the entire area that you plan to harvest. Harvest roots deep into the late fall or even into the winter or early spring after the ground thaws. Here are examples of products in which we use nettle root. The detox and respiratory protection is using nettle leaves. That's the T over there on the left-hand side. The detox and respiratory protection is also using the leaves as a tincture. And the prostate power is using nettle root. Let's consider ashwagandha. The beautiful plants that you see growing here were located at one of our former growing sites in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. We now grow it in Pennsylvania at other sites and all around the country. Ashwagandha, like other adaptogens, work at a molecular level by regulating a stable balance in the hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal glands, all of which are involved in the stress response. In other words, as we mentioned when we were speaking about the other adaptogens, it hacks the body's stress response. Ashwagandha is a tonic, strengthening herb that is high in iron content, increasing hemoglobin. The berries are a blood tonifier that improves circulation and absorption of nutrients by the cells. It's used as a liver and kidney tonic. Ashwagandha is also considered a longevity-promoting anti-aging herb. It enhances psychomotor coordination, improving athletic performance. It promotes sexual vitality, endurance, and stamina, rejuvenating tissue throughout the body. It normalizes reproductive hormones and increases sperm count. Ashwagandha is also known to clear the mind, improve the memory, and promote restful sleep. It boosts immunity, supporting the entire constitution, promoting health and systems balance. And as always, be mindful of using ashwagandha, other herbs, and any pharmaceutical when pregnant. The parts of the plant that we use are the roots predominantly, and the berries to reseed. However, the entire ashwagandha plant can be used, roots, leaves, and berries. The berries are edible in reasonable doses. They ripen in the fall. The leaves have toxin-expelling medicinal properties. The plant grows up to about 3 feet tall. Plant the seeds 1/2 inch deep and 6 inches apart directly in the ground after the last frost, and then thin out the seedlings later. Seeds germinate best in about 2 weeks when the ground is warm and the temperature is around 70 degrees. Plants can be started indoors. Ashwagandha has no special soil treatment that is needed. Water the seedlings well and evenly while they're establishing. The roots are a first or second year harvest. The medicine isn't as potent in the roots after that. Harvest in the late fall or early spring as soon as the ground thaws. and you see the two products in which we use ashwagandha. The ashwagandha on the left-hand side is our general population ashwagandha ratio of plant matter. And the Brothers Blend ashwagandha is a stronger strength ashwagandha, using it specifically for male reproductive purposes. Next, we have rhodiola, Rhodiola rosea. Rhodiola has a history of centuries of folk use in Russia, Scandinavia, China, and India, and has been a subject of many clinical studies. The genus Rhodiola consists of nearly 200 species. At least 20 species are used for health-promoting effects. The best known is Rhodiola rosea, now cultivated in Europe and North America. Rhodiola specifically enhances the natural resistance of the body to both physical and behavioral stresses, fighting fatigue and depression. Athletes use it to prevent fatigue and improve performance, since rhodiola is allowed by sports regulators. It's indicated for age-related conditions and depression. Rhodiola rosea engages with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. There are no side effects or interactions that have been reported. Rhodiola has demonstrated its anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, immunostimulating, DNA repair, and cancer effects in clinical studies. The parts of the plants used are the roots. This is a plant for the long haul because the first harvest is a 5-year harvest. Rhodiola is a perennial succulent known to grow in northern, cold, rocky spaces. Rhodiola prefers the rocky soil and long periods of freezing temperatures. Keep the seeds in the refrigerator for about 6 to 8 weeks prior to planting. Start the seeds in plug trays, planting them close to or on the surface. Keep the seeds well watered with a spray mister bottle while they're germinating so as not to dislodge them. The seeds germinate in 3 to 4 weeks in 50 degrees. Transplant to small containers protecting the seedling roots, and then find a spot in the garden for them that receives full sun. Rhodiola will not grow in shade. In closing, I'd like to draw your attention to where the Plant Medicine Project and Singularity Botanicals fits into the overall constellation of projects that constitute our network. The Plant Medicine Project and the grow sites that are connected thereto provide medicinal herbs that Singularity Botanicals distributes free of charge in communities which are extremely economically distressed. The circles, the specialty circles that you see arrayed along the periphery of Singularity Botanicals and the Plant Medicine Project are the herb education sites in Chester, where we get information out about medicinal herbs and what they do in the body and how to grow them, etc., as well as the Chester grow sites. These are the grow sites in the Eastern Pennsylvania hub. Healing Roots and Branches is a circle of grow sites that are throughout the country, in Vermont, in upstate New York, in Maryland, in Pennsylvania, outside of Eastern Pennsylvania, in Ohio, etc. And we have a new circle of Quaker grow sites that are predominantly in Pennsylvania, and we have additional grow sites, Quaker grow sites, meaning grow sites where Quaker meetings on their meeting house grounds are growing medicinal herbs for our network. We have some folks coming in from Ohio and New York from Quaker meetings into that circle as well. And it's all supported by a wonderful team of business development, marketing and distribution, branding, and packaging folks on the Singularity Botanical side. Everything is done sociocratically, which means that it is egalitarian, it is flat. Everyone not just has an opportunity to speak as we go through this process of producing medicinal herbs for distressed communities and doing the work that we do, but also has the opportunity to influence policy, influence decisions in all of those circles that you saw on the map. Sociocracy holds the space for organic, innovative emergence in a time where we're moving into groundlessness and uncertainty and uncharted territory. So we need the flexibility, the fluidity to be able to respond immediately and effectively to whatever arises in our environment, especially systems disruption. So sociocracy provides the space in which all of this happens. And of course, we claim control of our health naturally. It's all about African American self-care sovereignty. We are addressing intergenerational health conditions in the Black community. We are preparing for systems disruption that is already here, but which will accelerate, and we're producing plant medicine locally to meet our own needs. Thank you for listening. We look forward to being with you in subsequent herbal medicine workshops.